This is Forza Motorsport 6. We're here on Xbox Series X diving into the sixth main entry within the motorsport side of the Forza franchise. So be sure to like the video, subscribing is great as well. So with this particular entry in the series, it was pretty innovative. I was very excited to review it at the time. It was a pretty big deal for me to be able to check this one out early when it launched and cover it. So what are we getting here? It's 1080p, 60 FPS, and yes, it does provide that awesome, smooth visual experience that the Forza franchise is known for, with this one being quite a bit more groundbreaking in comparison to Motorsport 5, which was a real revamp for the series in terms of the visuals, the overhauling of the cars, the modes, everything like that. This one went and took that and really evolved it into the scope and the size of the series that we expect from the Motorsport franchise. So we're starting here on the Bernese Alps, which is a map that I absolutely love. I really do genuinely find this map to perhaps be my favorite in the entire franchise. I don't know why, there's just something about moving through these majestic, open slopes that is just spectacularly amazing. So this game in particular, there's also Auto HDR Sport. This game in particular is just such a treat of its time. Now, looking back on it, it is a little jagged, it is a little, rougher a little bit around the edges with that 1080p kind of like shining through. You could really tell some of the, the visual edging and stuff like that. But at the time, it was pretty amazing and visually groundbreaking, and I still think it does look pretty good. The details, the environmental stuff, it really was quite an experience. So moving past that, there's something like over 450 cars. There was like a Porsche expansion. I think there was a NASCAR type expansion. I see all these NASCAR type cars and I'm like, yeah, no, that makes sense. But they really did evolve a lot of things. For the first time, we've got like water-based tracks and wetness being a feature. We've got night racing. These are things that are basically, kind of a given going forward. But this was still a time when they were really innovating and adding new things that we had yet to see within the franchise within this entry. And I thought that was really, really cool, the fact that they were still trying all of these new things, adding stuff. Now, I do believe one of my sticking points at the time, when I did my written review ahead of launch and everything like that, way back in the day, was the fact that, like, the trees don't move. Like, it'll be raining a really, like, torrential downpour, and then the trees are just standing there. And then I think in the next one, they clean that right up, so then the trees are actually dynamic. But I'm pretty sure this one, I was kind of like, that stuff's not moving. What's going on here? So there's 24 different competitors. They can go against each other with the drivatars. And the rewind feature. So, that's kind of a staple in the series, is the fact that you have the drivatars, which react like regular people that you might know on your friends list that are racing. So I always thought that was kind of cool, and the night racing was such a neat thing. I was like, whoa, we actually get to race at night, this is incredible. So there's 26 world-famous locales, you gotta master the weathering, and yeah, like I said, it was kind of just like an innovative sort of entry. It just further cemented, hey, Motorsport is ready to go, Motorsport is ready to compete, and we understand that 5 maybe didn't have the full feature set, but now we've got that feature set going. And it's just really exciting to be back in this one, taking a look at it, because it is just visually kind of magnificent. I really do love this one. I think it captured the feeling of like 4 very, very well, which, 4 I think is a pretty well-loved entry in the series. And then kind of upgraded that in many ways, which is exciting, and then the detail of the cars getting all smashed up. You tend to forget just how these games kind of innovated on themselves over the years. You can kind of look at where we're at now, and you can kind of look at where we started. But, sometimes you don't look at the little progressions along the way. And I do genuinely think this was one of those ones that did a great job on, like, innovating and improving and enhancing things. And I hope we get the Bernese Alps in the newer entry that's coming out. That's why I love this level. It's so cool. So you've got regular movement, and then you've got reversal. Are those mountains in the far distance over there just like a 2D image? Makes me wonder. An affinity level. Ooh. Next track. Okay, I don't want to do preset tracks. I want to I'm gonna back out and actually do this. It takes a little bit longer to load if you don't just like pick the next track, but you know, I want the actual ability to select things. Yeah, Daytona. I'm pretty sure it was like a NASCAR thing they did. Nuremberg, Rio de Janeiro, which was a really cool level. Oh, they still had the Top Gear levels too, which was neat. Yeah, Asmara circuits. I think this one at least does the night racing. I'm kind of anything in the rain. Now you gotta look for like specific tracks for stuff. So let's do the night with the south track. Okay. And then we're gonna change up the laps so that we don't have to do too many of the same thing, because I want to show off different scenarios. And let's take a look at the cars. Toyota, Porsche. Ooh, the Spider. Yeah, you get some ridiculous cars. Let's do the S-Class. And then let's race, because I want to show off, obviously, the night racing, because it was such a cool feature at the time. So we did mention there's online multiplayer, there's actual, like, campaign-type progression. The whole Porsche thing was its own sort of campaign progression, too, which was neat at the time. I just remember covering this and being very, like, excited about it, because it was such an upgrade. Such a cool thing. You know, there's something special about these motorsport titles, because they really do push the hardware of the console at the time. Now, obviously, I do think the one that followed, the 7, was an even bigger upgrade, obviously, getting to that higher resolution targeting, which this one didn't. But this one was neat, because I believe this was, like, the first, like, I don't know, cross-play, like a play, I think it was a Play Anywhere title, or it was, like, when they first ported it to PC. Because I think they ported it as, like, Forza Motorsport Apex, which is kind of like a version based on this. So it was a little different. But I'm pretty sure this was the first time when they were experimenting with, like, you know, PC delivering from an Xbox perspective, when we were first starting to get those, you know, these franchises on PC, which was a very interesting change up. You know, because in the past, everything was just on, like, the Xbox, right? Like, you go to Forza 5, just an Xbox thing, and then this one, they kind of did, like, a little version of it that was like, hey, we're on PC now. So I'm hoping they also innovate upon the ideas of, like, night racing and stuff a little bit further. I quite like, and I know it's not necessarily a perfect comparison, but I really love Dirt 5, where it's kind of like every track has weathering, every track has night and day, every track can be just crazily customized. And I'm sort of hoping we get that kind of precisionary offering with the upcoming one down the road. Hey, this map is really, like, kind of shorter and tighter. I should have picked a more extended level, but holy. I just remember playing at night for the first time, and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And it doesn't seem like that big of a deal now, I guess you would say, because obviously so many games are featuring night racing and that, and it's just a regular feature now that you kind of expect, but it was really, really cool at the time. Obviously, you know, we don't really need to talk too much about, like, the handling and everything of the cars, because the cars feel great. That's something the Forza always nails, is just, like, the cars look great, the cars feel great to drive. You know, the systems for rewind and movement and track and handling and everything like that are very, very well done. What's really neat about this one is I think this is one of the ones where I actually really tweaked my, like, settings and stuff. Usually I just leave things almost at a default, but this one I believe I, like, played around with tuning and difficulty adjustments, so it's neat to see that. For this one I went a little bit more wild. Ooh. What a beautiful game, though. Seriously, what a majestic sort of offering. It really does look cool. Really does feel good. I love the options here. We definitely need to do a drive on Rio. I want to do it on, like, a sunny day. I think we got time. Because I also want to show off a little bit of rain. Because the rain, I was like, whoa. Now and then we went to, like, dynamic weathering and stuff, which I think is even better. But, you know, it was still neat at the time. And it got some nice music going on, too. Nice tunes. Yeah, I always do love what this series has to offer. I mean, the faster loading with the next gen helps a lot, too. Brands Hatch. Actually, a dirt track. Do you have... Yes, you have the rain. Wait. No, I wanna... want to go back, but I wanted to... I want to see the other rain level. The Indy circuit. Let's do the Grand Prix circuit. Let's do 2 laps again, because we want a little bit of time, but we don't want too much time. Let's bring out the McLaren. Let's start the race. It really does load a lot faster. I know that sounds maybe a little bit crazy, but yeah, that was quite a bump up in quality. The fact that it's just like with the next gen here, we just kind of load through right into the game, which is nice. I mean, I really do love this series. I wasn't really into racing games until I played, you know, the Forza series. It was really, really interesting because I was kind of like, the genre is always like, yeah, you know, some people love that kind of thing. But now I've tried so many different car games, and it's because of this series that actually got me interested in it. And it, like, I could really see, you know, now where I'm like, oh, you know, this aspect of it isn't quite as impressive as later ones, but at the time it really was just such a technical sort of feat. Yeah, I forgot that driving in the rain is really hardcore. Hydroplaning, which isn't necessarily what it was going on there, but yeah, it's raining weather, not the best. But I always love driving in the rain. Personally, driving in the rain is a really, really cool experience because everything like sort of lights up. Like all the lights really do get like almost accented and focused on, and you can see so many like neat reflections that you wouldn't normally see when you're, you know, living your day-to-day, but the rain really brings them out and makes cars look so cool, and the dripping of the droplets on the vehicles and stuff like that. Just visually amazing, just like gorgeous in general. But having the rain and stuff in this was like so cool. I was like, wow, this is a whole new way to kind of race and experience the driving thing. It really was quite a treat. And this one felt really expansive. I want to put that out there. Like, you know, it had a ton of different modes. It was almost, I don't know if you call it a redemption thing, but it was really, hey, we need to add more than we added for 5. 5 was a bit of a rebuild kind of motorsport year. You know, let's get back to the drawing board and really offer the full scope of things. That seemed to be a real trend, I want to say early on last gen too, was kind of like rebuilds for a lot of franchises. They had to, like, you know, build on new engines and like scrap things and really upgrade things because they wanted to overhaul everything for the new visual set pieces that were coming, the visual settings that we have. And I think a lot of series really had to do like a hard reboot before they like picked back up again, and some never did. You know, never did really pick back up. But I think Motorsport came back really strong. And this one was also nice because it really didn't like push the, you know, because I think 7 definitely had some like microtransactional things that people didn't really agree with when it launched, whereas this one was really just sort of a true to the series kind of thing and setup. And the DLC was fun. It was just a great time. And yet again, it was amazing to have the opportunity to review this. You know what else was really cool? Was I believe this one I was using like my steering wheel with when I was more ambitious with my driving stuff, where I'd actually pull out the steering wheel for the true driving experience, which is still fun, you know. Occasionally, if I get a moment, I'll bring out the steering wheel. It's just like it's a lot of setup, and I don't really have a place to like place it anymore. Is the biggest thing. Other than that, I just kind of enjoy the driving. Okay, but this is what I was saying. Is like, so obviously the trees are like 2D, right? Like you can clearly tell that they give them some effects to make them look a little bit more 3D, but they're just 2D static images. And they don't move. I think this was literally part of my review at the time. I was like, you've got this gorgeous track, these gorgeous vehicles, stunning weathering, the rain looks phenomenal, it's a torrential downpour, it's just flooding your screen, there's clouds, there's wind, and then you look at the trees, and they're like these static images that are not moving. It really kills the immersion for you. I remember it being like a big thing too for me. I was like, this is like a, you know, like a near flawless, almost great, near perfect experience of driving and racing, and then it's just like this part of the environment just totally takes me out of it. And I know it, you know, at the time and stuff like this, and And then again, the next one had the trees moving. I don't know. It's just weird, right? I can't be the only one that's like, wow, these trees, they look so... It kills it. It almost kills it for me, where I'm just like, what is going on? It's not a bad thing. I mean, I still think the game looks great overall. Look at those reflections. Ooh. But, yeah, it was just kind of like, why doth these trees not move? Are they not feeling the weathering? Look at the people, too. They're like 2D images, aren't they? We really push for immersion now. It seems probably silly to some people, but when you go and you look at the little things that we came from, options-wise, you could really be like, you know, why is this stuff static? Why didn't we have this back then? Did people care back then? I know I noticed it, but like I'm assuming most people probably didn't even remotely care about that. So we got to do Rio, because I remember Rio was like the showcase for this game. It was like the big thing where everyone was like, whoa, because I think that's how they showed off the game for the first time, and like the trailer was like, look at this amazing, you know, level. 3 laps. Yeah, let's do it. Just incredible. The full circuit of Rio de Janeiro. I think it was part of like some of the multiplayer sessions in this one, and I tend to get a little like bumpy sometimes, and people get so mad, especially on like people watching, like, because I think that this was one I actually streamed back in the day, because I used to do periodic streaming, and this one was kind of one where people were like, oh, you're not driving right, or you're not doing this right, and everything, and I was like, oh, it's stressful. Now I don't care, but you know, at the time I was like, oh, I better straighten up my racing. But it's kind of a treat being back on this one. I didn't think I was gonna do it, but I was kind of like, it was really vibing and I was feeling it. Oh, that water looks really slick. I guess you would say like scratchy around the edges, really jagged around the edges, and then all those buildings in the far back on the left there, 2D images for sure. See, you notice even more when you play like newer ones and then you come back and you're like, oh, didn't really notice that before. Now it sticks out to me a little bit more. Still a gorgeous level though. All this, the complexity within the environment. You see all the different like, oh geez, that was bad. Okay. But you see all the little like things, little metal pieces, the poles, the people, the, I guess you would say the seats and stuff like that. It's just, it feels really dense. I mean, I think they've gone leaps and bounds even between this and 7. And then I can't wait to see the next one, how much further they take things on top of that, because I bet it's going to get really, really majestic. Like, I hope they continue along some of the track concepts, just so we can see them change. Because that's one thing I really, really love between racing games. And a racing franchise that's been around for a long time, where you're getting up to that, like, hey, we're on like 8 or whatever, 8+ of our different entries. And you can see certain tracks that have been available across the majority of them. Because that's like a great indicator of being like, okay, you know, here's where we started, this is where we're at now. Like, that looks really majestic. Like, this looks great. But I could really cut out that as like, you know, 2D trees. It's kind of like, you know, I mean, they were very limited by the Xbox One hardware, the launch hardware, but yeah, I gotta say, they definitely did push it, and definitely did make a really, really remarkable and impressive offering. That was like mind-blowing at the time. I was like, see, this is why you would, literally this is why you would have an Xbox at the time almost, was Forza and a few other franchises that were still alive and kicking, but, you know, Turn 10 always delivered, and they never disappointed with their titles. And I think this one is just really spectacular. Really? Oh, this poor Lamborghini. I'm so sorry. It is getting so smashed up. Somebody's not driving well, and that someone was me. I don't know. I like this one. I think a lot of people did. I think it was pretty mind-blowing at the time. And I think a lot of it still kind of holds up as impressive today. And as time goes by, I'm sure it'll be less and less impressive when you look at some of the smaller details kind of cracking out or being more noticeable. But, you know, I think from a perspective kind of set up being like, hey, you know, at the time, this really pushed boundaries. This really did more than the Xbox One could even do. At its peak kind of thing, it's an impressive offering. Oh, the confetti!